15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Wait a minute. I've heard that before. That's the note Jeremy wrote to me in my yearbook in the 6th grade. How'd you even know that?
Because it's from Geico.
Yeah, wait, here it is. Dear Luke, have a great summer. P.S. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. Love, Jeremy.
Geico's had this tagline for years, because we help save people money.
So wait, you're saying Jeremy copied you? Yeah, that actually does sound like something the J-Man would do.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is the Talk Show America Show.
There's the place where we learn to stand tall as we all pledge allegiance to our flag on the wall. Whatever happened to in God we trust, I know those words still mean something to most of us. Where's the voice of the majority? Can someone please tell me? Where's my country? Where's my country?
And welcome one and all to the Talk Show American Show. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen. We certainly appreciate it very much. JR here with you. I haven't been on the podcast for quite a long time, folks. Well, we did one the other day, but just to let you know that this was going to debut today. Please forgive me if I'm a little choppy. And I also, as some of you know, just got over COVID about 2 weeks ago. So I still have the cough, and every once in a while it really starts coming out. So I'm going to try to get through this without worrying about the cough. Hopefully we don't have that problem, but if we do, we'll try to do what we can to hit the cough button. But that doesn't always work, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, welcome, folks, back to the Talk Show American. I appreciate all of your listenership. I appreciate my Twitter followers, my followers on Facebook and LinkedIn, and all the other ones, Telegram, Getter, Cloud Hub. There's so many of them now. It's hard to even keep up with how many platforms I'm on. But we appreciate it very much. You taking time out of your busy day to listen. We just wanted to let you know that. What a crazy time it is right now, folks, in the United States here. It's just not what it used to be. And the theme song of Talk Show America, written by Ted Painter, and we appreciate very much him letting us use the song, says it all. You know, where's the place where we used to stand tall? You know, and we used to pledge allegiance to our flag on the wall. We used to hang in the classroom a pole, and the flag would be there hanging off the wall, and we pledge allegiance to it. Those days are gone, folks, and it's just getting crazier and crazier by the day. And really, you don't really even know what to think anymore, because just when you think everything is fine, everything starts getting crazy again. It starts leveling out, and then we go into another crazy period. We all thought that COVID-19 would be gone in like a 6 months, a year. It's still here, still lingering on. So lots of things, that are crazy. The Biden administration, a complete flop. Basically, his motto should be "Make America Suck Again," because that's basically what we're at. Where we're at with this man. Some poll numbers just came out on him. Number one, big poll number. Only 17% of the American people, according to Gallup, this is a recent poll, think the country is going in the right direction. 17%, folks. That's unbelievable. It really is. When you look at those numbers, you got to sit here and think, wow. Another poll that came out just recently, Rasmussen, 50% of voters, folks, support the impeachment of Biden if it should ever come up. 50%. That's a lot, folks. 33% that strongly feel that way. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of voters, and it's crazy. 45% don't think he should be, and that's fine. That's part of the poll, obviously. But the bottom line is 50% of the American people, of voters, think say that they would support his impeachment if it was to come up. So it's just amazing what's going on. Craziness with how he handled Afghanistan and pulled out and left Americans there that are still there. This is just they don't talk about it because they don't want to talk about it, and this is the problem. That's all well and good, except for the fact that, hey, it's the elephant in the room that no one wants to talk about. And this also is creating problems for him, along with everything else, along with the supply interruptions and the inflation, gas prices getting up there. It's just this is just a lot. Like I said, the motto for this administration should be "Make America Suck Again," because basically this is what it turned into. From President Trump, when we had great economic growth, things were leveling out. No wars in 4 years. No, we all remember everybody saying Trump's going to get us in a nuclear war, blah blah blah, and down the line. None of this ever happened, folks. But look where we are now, with the Russians on the doorstep of Ukraine. Biden's got a big problem to worry about. Most of Americans don't think we should get involved in that, and we probably shouldn't. But all of this stuff is happening at this point in time, and now we have the latest, folks. The cancel culture, of course, has been out there trying to cancel anything that conservatives have anything to do with. Now we have Neil Young and Joni Mitchell, aging rockers. They were rockers when I was a young lad in my late teens, early 20s. Aging rockers who were very dissentful in their speech through the songs, on many of their songs, which was their right if that's what they wanted to do. Speaking out against the government and things of this nature. Now they're coming out because they're on Spotify, one of the platforms that the Talk Show American is on, by the way, along with Joe Rogan, who is a very popular conservative podcast host. And now that because Joe Rogan speaks out, not necessarily against the vaccine, but talks about other alternatives that may be out there. Now all of a sudden Neil Young told Spotify he wanted to pull his music if they didn't take him out of there. Joni Mitchell, the same thing. Well, here's the thing. Like I said in one of my posts on a blog, I hope Neil Young will remember a conservative podcaster don't need him around anyhow. But the bottom line is, we all know that came from Sweet Home Alabama by Skinner, that spoke about Neil Young and him downing Alabama in one of his songs. The whole point is, folks, these people now think they can cancel out the conservative speech this way. Now, Neil Young, I don't know how many downloads he gets, but I'll guarantee you he does not touch Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan gets, on average, folks, 11 million listeners per episode. 11 million per episode. Not in a year. In an episode. So where does Neil Young think he's going to be able to say to Spotify, hey, this is what I'm going to do? Well, what happened? Spotify didn't pull Joe Rogan, so Neil Young pulled his music from Spotify. Spotify didn't take Neil Young down. There are people who are trying to say that. That's not true. It was Neil Young who decided to pull his music off of Spotify because obviously Spotify did not take down Joe Rogan. And why are they going to do that when the man gets 11 million listens per podcast? 11 million. That's just one episode. No one's, they've got to look at the numbers. And there's nothing that I have heard on Joe Rogan's show that is really that controversial. He brings on experts, folks. He brings on people who know what they're talking about. Okay, to some extent. They have medical backgrounds, things of that nature. They know what they're talking about when they're talking about alternative ways that this may be done. Now, you may not agree with it, and a lot of other doctors and scientists may not agree with it. But we all know that all of them agree or disagree on things. That's just the way it is. Joe Rogan isn't telling you not to get vaccinated. Joe Rogan isn't telling you to get vaccinated. Just like I won't tell you that. It's a personal choice that you have, folks. You decide if you want to get vaccinated or not. Not me, not Joe Rogan or not anyone else. I'm not going to shame you if you get vaccinated. I'm not vaccinated. I had COVID. I had it bad. I had COVID. I wasn't vaccinated. Still don't plan on getting vaccinated, but that's me, folks. Now, if you decide you're going to get vaccinated, matter of fact, a friend of mine, we just went out the other night, and now this is a man that's been vaccinated. He's been triple vaxxed. He's gotten the boosters, everything, and for a couple of months now, and he got COVID, vaxxed, worse than that, or if not worse, as bad as I got it, and yet he was vaccinated. Now, I'm not saying don't go out and get vaccinated. I don't know. It may have been just something from him. There may be some people I know it affects some people differently, and that's just the way it goes. No, you're not going to hear from me or Joe Rogan for that matter. We're not going to ridicule you because you got vaccinated. That's up to you. That's a personal choice. It's the choice you make for you, your family, and your coworkers. But this vaccination mandate is what most of us are against. I'm against it being mandated. You should get vaxxed if you want to get vaxxed. If you think that's right for you. If you decide you don't, then that's it. Now, if they want to make you wear masks at work or something like that, you may have to do things like that, get checked all the time. Well, you may have to do that. Okay, that's just the way it goes. And some, obviously, and some workplaces want you to be vaccinated or require you to be. This can cause all kinds of problems for people, but it's a personal choice. It's up to you. I know people who left their jobs because they weren't going to be forced into the vaccination. I know people that were against the vaccination, but the minute they said, well, if you don't get it, you're going to lose your job, they get vaccinated. Listen, I can understand that, okay? We all have to make a living. We have to eat. We have to feed our families. It's understandable, but it should not be that way. It shouldn't be, well, you have to do this. You're mandated to get this or else. Now, quite a few places, the Supreme Court shot down the mandated vax. So a lot of places relaxed that requirement. Some have just kept on doing it. So it's a personal preference and a personal choice. It's not up to me or Joe Rogan or anyone else to tell you you shouldn't get vaccinated. That's crazy. Or to tell you, if you decide to be unvaxxed, that you shouldn't be unvaxxed. But these people, this cancel culture people, they can't take it, folks. They can't understand, well, how dare you, and everything else. I mean, it's craziness. Because, they call them the mask police and the vax police. You know the people. You're on a plane or you're in a store or something and your mask is maybe off a little bit or something like that. People looking at you scowling, or then they're like, oh, put your mask on and everything. You know the people, you know who the people are. So, unfortunately, these are the times we live in, and it's becoming more and more prevalent as the Rogan and Neil Young / Joni Mitchell, debacle is showing. That Neil Young, thinks that he should be able to tell Spotify, hey, take that guy off, or I'm not going to let my music be on there. Now, maybe he's taking a stand that he believes in, and he probably is, but that's not the point. You don't censor people because of what you believe. If you don't want to listen to Joe Rogan, don't listen to him. It's as simple as that. People used to do this with Rush Limbaugh all the time. The late Rush Limbaugh. All the time they used to do this. Oh, he's this and he's that and he says this and but they're listening to him, folks. They're listening to him. Even people that don't like him are listening. We're listening to him. Because obviously, he is dearly departed now. But they would listen to him. But then they'd want to run and complain about it, and complain about what he says. Try to get him off the air, and that's been tried too. Of course, obviously that didn't work, but. Don't listen. If you don't want to listen to him, you don't listen to him. You change the dial. If I don't want to listen to Neil Young, I just change the dial, or I don't put that CD in, or whatever, or don't listen to it on my phone or whatever. It's as simple as that. But these people, the woke people, some of these newer. Well, he's not new, obviously. He's an older guy, but some of these people just believe that they should be able to dictate the narrative here, folks. of who you can listen to. Well, you can listen to Neil Young and my protest songs or whatever, my music, but you can't listen to Joe Rogan because he has a different opinion than I do about the vaccine or whatever. Joe Rogan is a talk show host. Joe Rogan is an entertainer. Joe Rogan acquires guests for a show that he believes has, credentials and a different point of view. He doesn't just bring on some guy that posted on a blog that doesn't have any idea what he's talking about. He's not bringing those people on. And there's plenty of people out there who are against the vax, and even I've had that on my blog but I try to get good information, folks. In other words, information that comes from trusted sources and people who are in the know. Now, they may disagree with the scientists. They may disagree with with people. But the bottom line is, they have something to say too. And maybe it's, this is freedom of speech in this country. It's the First Amendment. We're going to talk a little bit more about that when we get back from the break, folks. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after these messages.
Alana was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's cancer. As a parent, when you're told this type of news, you're going to do whatever you can do for your babies. When we got to St. Jude is when I realized that, no, you're not going to get a bill for anything. I don't have to worry about it. They're saying we're going to help save her, and we're not going to charge you anything. This is what we do.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
You're listening to the Talk Show America Show.
All right, folks, we're back here on the Talk Show America Show, and thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen. Again, I appreciate it, folks. I appreciate all the interactions on my Twitter page, and, believe me, I'm going to try to be out here at least once a week, every week now, again with the show. We're trying to catch up to a lot of stuff that's been going on, so it's very difficult, but we're doing the best that we can in this case. But getting back to what we were talking about with this cancel culture, these cancel culture people, don't let people bully you like this, folks. Don't let people dictate to you what you should believe. And that includes me or Joe Rogan or anyone else. We're not going to try to bully you anyway, folks, but, don't let people, if you have a certain thing that you believe in, that's fine. If you believe in being vaxxed, folks, you're not going to get an argument from me. That's your choice. I'm not going to argue with you. I won't. I'm not going to try to shame you. I'm not going to try to make you feel like you're, you don't fit in because you didn't do this, or you're vaxxed now, so you go over there in that group. I'm not going to do this, folks. I'm not. And I know Joe Rogan isn't either. All he's doing is offering, through his show and through experts and people that he has on, different perspectives. And there's nothing wrong with that. And a lot of things, folks, let's face it, a lot of things that were, put out as, well, those are rumor mongers, those people are, they're conspiracy theorists, have come to fruition. About the vaccine, about, how safe it might be or might not be. A lot of things have come to fruition. Now, off the top of my head, I can't think of them all, and I'm not going to get into this too much because I definitely want to make sure that, I'm not here to sway you either way on your vaccination status. That is up to you, folks. It's totally up to you. What you do, how you do it, that's why we live in the United States of America. You have freedom, or you're supposed to have anyway. Now, there was someone who said the other day, it was they were talking about freedom of speech. Now, one of the things that was said was, Joe Rogan doesn't have a right to freedom of speech on Spotify because Spotify is a private company and they're not under government control. So, in other words, most of the First Amendment was written, many people will tell you this, and it's true to some extent, to stop the government from interfering with your free speech. In other words, about the government. In other words, if you have a redress with the government, you have a right to say it, and they can't do anything about it. That is largely what freedom of speech was about. But there was also freedom of the press, folks, which is in there as well. So this is true. However, Spotify, Joe Rogan has contracts with Spotify, so Spotify just can't decide, unless they want to, risk a lawsuit or risk losing a lot of money. We're going to throw you off because Neil Young and Joni Mitchell are upset, and they're thousand. You know, they're 11,000 or 11 million. Let's give them 11 million in a year. They're 11 million listeners in a year. We have to worry about that. When this guy does 11 million listeners in a show, in a podcast, think of the economics of it all. First of all, he's under contract, so they'd probably have to pay him even if they decided to pull in his show. And along with that, they're going to lose a lot of listeners because a lot of people are going to get off Spotify because they can go somewhere else and listen to any music they want. They're going to go where Joe Rogan goes. And believe me, there will be platforms that'll pick Joe Rogan up in a heartbeat. You can say what you want, folks. You can sit here and talk all day long about, well, that's not right that he says that because he's not undercutting anybody, folks. He's offering you an opinion. My opinion is, like I'm doing here, my opinion is I don't want to be vaxxed. I don't feel that I need to be vaxxed, and I'll go for, that's my opinion. That's how I feel. Now, how you feel about something is different, as we know. But the whole point is, folks, it shouldn't be that I can cancel out. Like let's just say, my friend and I, for example, I don't want to mention his name because I don't have permission to, and I'm not going to. But my friend and I I'm vaxxed, he's not, and he's got a podcast on Podomatic, which is normally where my home base is, Podomatic. And so him and I are on Podomatic. Now I decide, hey, I don't think you should be vaxxed, so I want his podcast pulled because he thinks everybody should be vaxxed, and that's wrong. Well, first of all, that's not up to me. It's up to Podomatic. Podomatic's not going to do that because they're going to be like, well, he has a right to say as much as you do, which is true. If people don't want to listen to him about his vaccination status, or why he thinks you should be vaccinated, then they don't have to. It's simple as that. But we're back to this culture. Well, cancel culture, we're not back to it. It's started, especially since, obviously, the President Trump lost the election or how the election or the selection to Joe Biden. It's the cancel culture started. If you're a conservative, this, that, the other thing, and people. Well, January 6th, Jay. It was going on before January 6th. But anyway, I digress. The bottom line is that's what was going on then. The cancel culture, and it's getting worse and worse. And the only thing I think that saves a lot of us from this cancel culture is the fact that Joe Biden is doing so badly as president that even his own people think he's doing badly. So it's a distraction. But along comes people like Neil Young, Joni Mitchell. There's a couple others too. There was some weird bands. I'm like, who haven't even heard of these people? I mean, listen, you have a stance that you think Joe Rogan is wrong. That's fine. And you'll get no argument from me. I'll sit there and say, okay, maybe he is. But that's not the point, folks. Wrong or right, he's presenting a show. I mean, if he was, advocating violence and, things of this nature, or talking hate speech and things of this nature, that'd be a different story. He's not. He's not. He's not. All he is saying is that he is offering you different viewpoints, different perspectives, different scientists and doctors who feel that this is a different situation. That's what he's offering everybody, and those are his beliefs, and he has a right to them. I'm having a hard time with this because we, especially those of you who are I'm 68, so I'm sure many of the audience. As a matter of fact, according to the demographics that I got the other day, believe it or not, a good part, 75% of my audience is made up of women, 45 to 70, I believe it was. I was shocked, and then 25% male. I was shocked, but if you're my age, we grew up in an age where you didn't have these problems, not like this, not cancel this person. How dare he say anything? If somebody may, like if you put an editorial in a newspaper and somebody doesn't like it, they may write in and say, I don't agree with him. I think it was wrong, and I think he didn't know what he was talking about. But that's how you handled it, and that was the end of it. It wasn't, take him off the paper, and he stinks, and it wasn't all of this stuff. You just didn't agree with the person. Back then you didn't have cell phones and computers and everything else, so you wrote to the editor. But now, with the cell phones, with all the instant media and all this other stuff, right away, what's going on? You know what's going on as well as I do. Cancel that guy. Look at him. I've had people write bad things in my reviews of the podcasts and things of that nature. And you don't know what you're talking about on my blog. You get it all the time, folks. I largely ignore it unless the person may be a valid person who just has a different point of view, and I've had people do that too. And I carry on a halfway decent conversation with them on Twitter, on my blog, and other places. And you know what? We can kind of have a conversation, and at the end we probably don't agree, but we had a conversation, and that's it. I don't hate that person. That person doesn't hate me. We just move on. But you all know, and if you're on Twitter, you know this better than anybody. There are people that get on there, and they're all part of this little groups. They get in there and they start, pecking at you. Oh yeah, this you're foolish. This is stupid. You don't believe in the vaccine. What's wrong with you? And then they're trying to to embarrass you, to get you to feel like, oh, I'm less of a person because I don't feel that way. You know how the people are, and they just keep on doing it. And look at them. They got like 7 followers. You're like, yeah, okay, like anybody's going to listen to you anyway. But that's the point, is that there's people out there like this, and this culture just seems to be breeding more and more and more. And now it's morphed over into Spotify, with these artists and musicians. I don't want my music being played there if they have that guy. Like Hitler was broadcasting. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. Now, there was a rumor Barry Manilow was going to pull his music. I know, everybody's like, what? I actually thought maybe Engelbert Humperdinck would do the same thing, but who knows? But Manilow says that he didn't say that, and most likely someone from his group, I'm sure someone from him that does his stuff, because I'm sure he doesn't do it all himself, probably said something and probably wasn't authorized to do that. So that created a little bit of a problem for Barry. But he came out and said that he did not say that, and that he has no intention of doing that. And, he may, and I'm sure he doesn't agree with Joe Rogan, but maybe he does. Who knows? But it doesn't matter, folks. If I'm Barry Manilow, play my music. I don't care. As a matter of fact, if Joe Rogan is attracting people to Spotify, that probably gives me a better chance of getting my music played, or my show for that matter. I mean, it's little compared to Joe Rogan. Maybe I've got to get 11 listeners to a podcast versus him at 11 million in one podcast, folks. I mean, that's just, so weird. People are like, oh, Spotify better listen to us or else. Spotify is listening to 11 million people who are listening to Joe Rogan every day. Spotify is they're not foolish, and they have a contract with him. So I'm hoping that people start using common sense. If you don't agree with Joe Rogan, you just don't listen to him. If you don't agree with JR, me, don't listen. It's as simple as that. I want you to listen, but if you don't want to, if you don't agree with me, you don't have to. That's the beauty of this country, folks. You do not have to listen to one state-controlled radio, as many of the communists had to years ago. I don't know how it is now. It might be a little bit eased up to what it used to be, but there are certain countries you can only listen to the state-controlled radio. You listen to what they tell you, or what's they're allowed to be said. That speaks volumes. People, we don't want this country to become that, but this is what some of these people are doing. They're edging towards this. Basically, you can only listen to what we approve. Now, there'll be people that argue, well, Jay, again, it's really protects you from the government. You speaking out against the government and them having something to say about it. What's Joe Rogan talking about? the vaccine. Is it safe? Is it not safe? Here's people that say it is. Here's people that say it may not be. Here's people that say this may work, that may not work. Who mandates the vaccine? Or was trying to mandate the vaccine at least? Okay, the government. Who distributes the vaccine? The government. So this is where we have to be careful too, because Joe Rogan is speaking about the government. And this is where we have to be careful. So are we, in some ways he's speaking out about government policies. So yes, he's on a private platform. But just because he's on a private platform, does that stop him from speaking out? Why should it? Within their guidelines, and Spotify has come out with the guidelines. Spotify actually had guidelines, kind of against this. Anybody, well, they already have it against violent speech. Every single platform does, no matter who it is, and it should. I agree with that. Spotify had guidelines, and Joe Rogan hasn't broken any of them. Spotify has said this outright. He has broken no guidelines. They have a contract with him. They're not stupid. Neil Young and all these people can cry and whine all they want, but the bottom line is, he's under contract. So, and he has broken none of their regulations as far as anybody can see. So again, I'll just say this: if you don't agree with Joe Rogan, don't listen. It's as simple as that. Hopefully, it's just going to continue to go, folks. It won't matter. It's Joe Rogan will be someone else will be the next target, and the next target, and the next target, and it's just going to keep going down the line until they get to as many of these people off the platforms as they can, and they won't stop with just Spotify. They'll go to any platform they're on. We'll be right back after these messages.
Alana was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, and it's cancer. As a parent, when you're told this type of news, you're going to do whatever you can do for your babies. When we got to St. Jude is when I realized that, no, you're not going to get a bill for anything. I don't have to worry about it. They're saying we're going to help save her, and we're not going to charge you anything. This is what we do.
St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Finding cures, saving children. Learn more at stjude.org.
Hey, Talk Show America fans, experience what the internet is talking about.
Liberal enemy number one. JR heard here.
On the radio.
Talk Show America. No political correctness here.
All right, folks, we're back here on the Talk Show America show. JR here with you. Thank you again for taking time out of your busy day to listen. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for taking time to listen to this debut of the Talk Show American show. Many of our promos are still the Talk Show America show. Don't worry about it, folks. It's the show. It doesn't really matter. I probably should drop the N anyway. Who knows? But anyway, as we were talking about, folks, earlier, we're talking about the cancel culture. So we want to, you want to make sure, folks, that no one is directing you on how you should think. Now, you can listen to someone else's opinion, gain some valuable insight from it, and then you go from there. You decide which steps you're going to take, or maybe you're not going to take any. It doesn't matter, and this is what I'm trying to say. Everybody has an opinion. Every day I talk to people who have differing opinions than I do. Most of us get along fine, still friends, still go out, still laugh and jab each other once in a while. Yeah, it's ribbing, it's good-natured stuff, but that's it. But there are people that are hateful out here. It seems to have really, really amplified in the past year anyway. Unfortunately, you're going to run into people like this. Don't let them dictate, folks, how you react to things. Don't let them dictate how you treat people. Don't let them dictate what you believe and what you don't believe. You have to decide for yourselves. You can listen to their opinions. You can listen to other people. You can listen to people. You can listen to Neil Young and Joni Mitchell and the songs they used to sing, which were largely protest songs for the most part. Nothing against that. That's up to them. But you can listen to these people, but you have to make up your own mind. And that's what you want to make sure of. Unfortunately, there are people that, we call them, they're almost like, you remember when you used to, if you go down the road, and of course this is probably for the older crowd here, we used to go down the road, and remember some people would have those dogs in the back of their window with the bouncy head, and the head would go up and down. There are a lot of people like that in the world, folks. A lot of people. And listen, we're not the only ones fighting the vaccine mandate. This is going on all around the world. There's protests in countries that you wouldn't even think they'd be allowed to protest. It's amazing. And I can tell you one thing. I should talk about this a little bit. I also own a platform called Net Talk America. Net Talk America is a streaming online radio station that's conservative talk. All conservative shows, not just mine, but several others out there that friends of mine that we've been in the business for a long time. I started out in this whole racket in 2001. Started out on a platform called Light Coast Talk Radio, and I found it in a Google search one day and I said, hey, and I got on there and I goofed around with it a little bit, and I started the Talk Show America show. That's how long ago I've been doing this, and I carried on for quite a few years. In 2011, I started getting disillusioned. When Barack Obama got reelected in 2012, I was done, folks. I couldn't believe that it happened. So I kind of took a hiatus. I did a couple of shows, but not a lot. And even when Donald Trump got elected, not that I had any problem with him getting elected, I voted for him. I supported him once he became the nominee. Even when he got elected, there was so much garbage going on. The man could not get anything. He got a lot of stuff done, but he couldn't get anything done without everybody criticizing it. All the mainstream news media, all of this stuff. So this is what made me start to wane a little bit on the shows. I did a few, and that was it. So anyway, as I was saying, the Net Talk America platform, there's listeners from Afghanistan, the Ukraine, England. One of our biggest audiences, believe it or not, is England and Canada, Finland, Sweden, Japan, India, countries in Africa. I can't name them all, but they're all there. All these listeners from around. We have a global audience on Net Talk America, and I think a lot of it is because many of the shows that are on there, and you should check it out if you get a chance. NetTalkAmerica.com. Check it out and see what you think. But the bottom line is these. I think a lot of people are listening to these shows and that talks about the vaccine mandates and things of this nature that are interesting to them. Of course, the Ukraine, they're probably listening because of what's going on over there right now between Russia right at the border and what's going to happen. Some people are probably trying to get information that way. But it's amazing. China, we have listeners in Russia, all over. And the whole world is watching these things. The whole world is reacting to many of these things in France, in England. Look what's going on in Australia. That's a shame. It really is. So it's not just us in the United States here. It isn't. It's the whole world that's reacting to this. And there's a reason why, folks. So, because many of them do not want the vaccine mandated. No one's saying, per se, most of the people anyway, I just don't want the vaccine, so that's it. They're just saying they don't want it to be mandated. Even people that have got the vaccine have said that. They don't believe it should be mandated. It should be a personal choice. And that's where the fight is going in. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. This isn't just the United States. Us here in the United States, that's it. We're here, we're saying this and no one else is. The whole world is reacting to this. You see it in the countries that are protesting, the mandates protesting, the mandates for the vaccine, some of the masks, whatever. This is not just in the United States. So take a feel on that. Take a moment to reflect on that and understand It's not just us, and it's not just me or Joe Rogan or Sean Hannity or whoever else. I mean, as far as I know, Sean Hannity is vaccinated, and that's fine. That's up to him. But it's not a conservative talk show host sitting here saying, "Hey, you shouldn't get vaccinated. The vaccine's dangerous," or whatever. I'm not saying the vaccine's dangerous, folks. I'm not a doctor. I don't know one way or the other. I just know how I feel about it, and that's where I sit. And I'm not going to get into it because it's my personal preference and the reason why, and it should stay that way. Just like if you want to get vaxxed, you don't have to tell me why you want to get vaxxed. You don't even have to tell me that you got vaxxed. It's up to you. It's personal. And it shouldn't be turned into political, and it is. It's what's going on, political things. There's a story out there that I just saw the other day, and I haven't had a chance to vet it, so I'm going to use some words of caution here. I'm not saying this story is true, but it came from a site. It's .au, and then something else. So it's probably out of Australia. That says that Neil Young, a group that bought some of his songs, Traxxer, I don't even know how you would explain it. Anyway, they own rights to his music. About 1,180 tracks or something. And that company also is owns part of, either owns stock in Pfizer or owns part of Pfizer and the vaccine company. Now, I don't know if Neil knows this. I don't know if Neil is doing this because, somehow he was asked to do it by this company or Pfizer. I don't know. That's what they're alleging in this article. But I don't know that it's true. And I'm going to vet it a little bit more. And if I can find out more about it, I definitely will talk about it if it's true. There's no doubt about it. Because it certainly changes the outlook on this, on why this is going on. Of course, the others, Joni Mitchell, I don't know, if she does. I didn't say anything about her. It doesn't matter, folks. As I said, we shouldn't be, because we don't agree with somebody, deciding that we want to cancel them out. I used to be on a radio station in Florida. I did it remotely from up here. The Talk Show America show used to be on that station in Florida. There was before me 2 liberal shows before I even came on. I didn't say to that radio station, if you want my show to be on, you're going to have to get rid of those 2 liberal shows. I didn't say that. I didn't ever say that. Matter of fact, they were 2 were guests on my show, and I was a guest on their show. We didn't agree on things, and one of them we got a little heated on, but that was it. I'm not sitting and saying, okay, he's being a jerk, so I want him off the air. It's not up to me. It's if people are listening to him, then they're listening to him, or both of them, and that's up to you. That's a personal thing, and this is what we have to try to understand. Same thing going on here. So, cancel culture, and all this stuff with Joe Rogan. I'm sorry we talked about this so long, but it really irks me that someone can come along and say, we don't want to listen to what he has to say, so take him off the air or else I'm leaving. Now, like I said, if Neil Young had 11 million listeners per song every day, I could see Spotify going, but they'd have to break a contract. He doesn't violate any of their rules, so I could see maybe that reverse, but there's no way that Neil Young is getting 11 million listeners per song per day. There's no way. Joe Rogan probably blows them both out of the water. In a day, probably what they get in a year, if they get that. So, but it doesn't really matter. If he has 2 listeners, probably like something like what I would have on Spotify, 2 listeners. I don't know, probably, somewhere 1,000 listeners or whatever. It depends. But 11 million listeners, 1,000 is like a drop in the bucket. It's like one person listening, basically. But obviously, he's a lot more popular than I am and a lot more well-known than I am. I'm just some little guy. Just trying to keep it going. This is more a hobby for me now, folks, because I'm retired. I've been retired for a while after 38 years in law enforcement. I still do some traffic work on the side once in a while. That's about it. But this is just a hobby for me now, so that's why I'm getting back into it a little bit more. So we're going to see, we're going to have to watch this. We really are. I don't see, everybody's all like, oh, Joe Rogan apologized. All he did was explain, telling you that if you get vaccinated, wuss or something, off people, he's saying people have this. He said he tried, and I'm sure, he said he tried in presenting his guest. Listen, Shepard, I don't know, I was watching Sharp and Don. I'm like, oh boy, yeah. Not before he could say, Spotify image control. Not true. It's just what did it? It's not. And I thought that Neil Young off because somebody put an article. This was Spotify's answer to Neil Young. His music's gone. Well, Neil Young pulled it off, not Spotify. I didn't say anything. Well, and Neil Young pulled it down. Hey, that's just the way it goes, But it wasn't Spotify that decided, hey, we're going to get rid of Neil Young's music. So, let's hope that things get better. I guarantee you, Joe Rogan's not going anywhere. Will Joe Rogan maybe tamp it down a little bit? Maybe. My advice to Joe Rogan, who I respect highly and don't expect him to take the advice, would be, don't talk about the vaccine mandate. Talk about something else. There's plenty of other things out there we'll be talking about on this show as well. Like just recently when they came out, Pennsylvania came out, the Supreme Court with the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that said that the mail-in ballots in Pennsylvania violated it's unconstitutional. It violates the Constitution. And they're not talking about people that are invalid or whatever and can't get out putting in a mail-in ballot. They're talking about people without any reason to mail in a ballot except that they just wanted to. So we'll be talking about things like that in the next episode of the Talk Show American. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to listen, folks. It's going to be it for today, so I'm starting to get hoarse, and I want to make sure that I can talk again in a few days or next week. So in the meantime, folks, stay safe. Don't forget Net Talk America. Net Talk America. If you Google it, you come up to Net Talk America. It's 2 T's in it. NETTAKAMERICA.com. Net Talk Americas. And check out the shows on there. We'd appreciate it very much. And of course, TalkShowAmerica.com for the blog. Have a great day, folks. Stay safe. Catch you next week or on a JR's Take. Take care.
God bless America. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. United we stand, united with the American people.
To show you how easy it is to file a claim with Geico, we hired a nature show host.
In the native habitat of a suburban driveway, the poor victim of a broken windshield is left assessing his vehicle, utterly helpless.
Well, not true. If he's got Geico, he can file a claim online, over the phone, or with his handy mobile app.
But like a lone gazelle, he'll suddenly be left to fend for himself, awaiting his terrible fate.
Nope. Geico will assign him a designated claims team to help him out, too.
So the gazelle gets his car fixed and everything. Wow, nature is so cool.
Geico. Great service without all the drama.